Welcome to the Deep Dive, the only place where we take the chaos of modern information, really try to distill it down to its core truths and, well, serve it up fast. I'm the skeptical voice here, always ready to probe the evidence, push back on the easy answers.
And I'm here to connect those historical dots to help you understand the sometimes revolutionary implications of the material we dig into. And for this particular deep dive, wow, we're looking at a fundamental shift, a really undeniable change in global culture.
Yeah, it feels huge.
It's a force so pervasive, honestly, it dictates pretty much everything, from like how you bank to who leads your country. It's that big.
We dove deep into one central text for this one. It's a 1999 analysis called The Entertainment Economy. And the weird thing is, reading it today, it doesn't feel dated at all. It feels like the actual blueprint for how control works in the 21st century.
That's exactly right. It was meant as, a guide for corporations chasing profit. But if you read between the lines, which we did, it's basically a strategy manual for cultural dominance. The core idea, and it's laid out startlingly early, like page 3.
Yeah, page 3. It just hits you.
It says the line between entertainment and, well, everything else, commerce, politics, education, you name it, that line has just completely vanished. Gone.
We're living, according to the source, exclusively in what it calls the entertainment zone.
Precisely. And this is what we're calling the E factor. It's this mandatory insertion of entertainment value into literally every single consumer interaction. It's not just about movies or music anymore.
No, it's way beyond that.
It's about the complete psychological capture of the global audience. That's from page 28. And the architects of this whole thing, they call them the Moguls.
Right, the Moguls.
A handful, really, of these incredibly determined business leaders. And their influence, their actual power, has grown way, way out of proportion to the financial size of their companies. You see that on page 28 and again on 230.
So it's not just business then?
No. This isn't just commerce. You have to understand this is calculated conquest. Conquest of your attention, conquest of your desire.
And we pulled out 3 core revelations from the sources that really prove this system is way more subtle, way more systemic than I think most people realize.
Okay, play them out.
First, we're going to show you exactly how fun, just plain old fun, became the mandatory currency, how it diverts attention from, actual critical thought. They even coined a term for this mindset.
Oh, yes. Hedonomics, the new pleasure principle, basically. Page 30.
Exactly. Hedonomics. Second, we found this perfect, almost absurd symbol of how the E factor infiltrated everything. A moment so bizarre, it literally stopped global commerce.
You're talking about the Cybersex incident?
The Cybersex incident, page 49. The day Wall Street just halted dead because a major financial news network decided to air a story about, cybersex.
It sounds like a joke, but it's not. It's actually terrifying when you think about what it means for the economy's stability.
Totally terrifying. And third, maybe the most chilling part, the evolution of politics. We're going to detail how modern political figures think Reagan, think Clinton, references on pages 2021, and even entire foreign political movements learn to treat democracy, global leadership, like it's just an audition for a made-for-TV movie. Page 19 nails this.
You really, really need to understand these dynamics to make sense of the world you're living in right now.
That's the deep dive mission, isn't it?
It is. And hey, remember to follow the live analysis threads too, at official Urbanus on X. We'll be dissecting these documents as we go.
Okay, let's get into it. The origins of this takeover. It's really crucial to understand this E-factor thing didn't just bubble up out of Hollywood spontaneously.
No, not at all. It was engineered, and surprisingly engineered by some traditionally very conservative, very industrial giants who are looking for a way to reinvent themselves.
We have to go back to the 1980s. The source text consultant, Michael Wolff, was advising huge firms then, like Westinghouse.
Westinghouse. Now that's where the story gets really fascinating. Right. Westinghouse, right? The company that built turbines, light bulbs, refrigerators. I mean, the absolute backbone of the old industrial economy.
The heavy stuff.
Exactly. Tangible goods. And they were trying to figure out what to do with their TV stations. They actually hired Wolff's consulting firm for a project called, get this, Outlook on the Future of Broadcast Television.
Sounds pretty dry.
Deceptively dry. Because the analysis that came out of that project fundamentally, radically changed the entire company's identity.
That's right. So the immediate question was just about those broadcast stations, which, Westinghouse ended up keeping. The real transformation, the deeper symbolic shift, That's what happened over the next few years.
Tell them.
Westinghouse made this absolutely radical decision. They decided to exit their historical industrial businesses completely, selling off the very divisions that built those physical things, power turbines, kitchen appliances, all of it. Page 5V mentions this pivot.
And they didn't just sell them off. They moved their headquarters, and they literally became CBS.
Became CBS.
It's the ultimate corporate metaphor, isn't it? The old economy, the one built on tangible steel and glass, it basically died right there.
Wait.
And it gave birth to this new entity whose entire value proposition was based on intangibles, content, image, attention.
Right. And that moment basically established the new rule book for the information age. If you wanted maximum growth, maximum value, you had to prioritize entertainment assets. Forget the physical production lines.
Intangibles over tangibles. That was the sea change.
And the evidence of this new ruling class emerging the Moguls, you see it demonstrated in the sheer brutality of the public nature of their corporate fights. Just 4 years after that Westinghouse analysis cemented the idea, bam, you get this spectacular, super public, super aggressive $10 billion power struggle for Paramount. Page 16 covers this.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't some, polite boardroom negotiation over tea and biscuits.
Not really.
The source describes it as this heated winner-take-all conflict that dominated the front pages. You had these two absolute giants, Barry Diller, who was running QVC then, and Sumner Redstone from Viacom. It's exactly. Engaged in this protracted legal battle, this financial war, they were staking out turf. Not just for market share, but for global content domination. Page 117 really frames it that way.
It was intense.
The source even details this secret late-night Saturday board meeting held in some lawyer's office, trying to figure out which bid Viacom's or QVC's offered more shareholder value in this crazy bidding war. Pages 16 and 7 go into that drama.
These aren't your grandfather's managers, right? They're high-stakes rulers. They're playing what the source calls Mogul combat.
Mogul combat, I love that term. Page 125. Where personal determination, raw gambling instinct, it just trumps tradition, trumps cautious management every time.
So how did this mindset, this E factor, spread beyond media? How did it infiltrate everything else?
The sources point to a specific method, the creation of the creative suits. That's on page 19.
The creative suits. And this wasn't just some, catchy HR buzzword. It was a conscious strategy, a deliberate plan.
Explain that. These were adaptable agents. People specifically trained to blend two very different skill sets. The sharp, data-driven methodology of financial analysis, on one hand.
The spreadsheet jockeys.
Right. And on the other hand, the fluid, emotional, intuitive understanding of showbiz. Page 9 again, and page 51, touches on this blend.
Showbiz and analysis, an odd couple.
But incredibly effective. They were the Trojan horse, basically. Their job was to infiltrate traditional businesses, the ones focused on utility, on function, and convert them into entertainment platforms. Platforms focused entirely on experience.
Okay, let's drop some of that crucial bombshell evidence you mentioned earlier, starting with the Citibank protocol.
Right. Citibank. You think of banking, you think staid, conservative, maybe a bit boring.
Traditionally, yeah.
Well, Citibank set this absolutely audacious goal. 1 billion customers worldwide. 1 billion. And to get there, they realized they couldn't just offer better loan rates or more ATMs.
What they need.
According to pages XX, 21, and 75, they concluded they had to create exciting content. They had to be perceived as cool, just like an entertainment company. Banking itself had to become a destination and experience, not just a boring necessity.
Wow, exciting content from a bank.
Exactly. And this demand for content, this need to entertain, it started flipping entire business models upside down. Look at the toy reversal with Hasbro.
Hasbro, okay. G.I. Joe, Transformers.
Right. Historically, Hasbro made toys based on existing media. Action figures from a hit movie, play sets from a cartoon series. That was the model.
Made sense.
But the new E-factor mandate, this pressure to generate entertainment value, it forced them to reverse polarity. That's the term used on pages 21 and 51.
Reverse polarity, what does that mean?
It means they decided to produce the entertainment themselves first, create the serialized cartoons, develop the digital games, specifically designed from the ground up to generate new toy lines and drive sales.
So the cartoon became the ad for the toy, essentially.
Precisely. The core product flipped. It wasn't physical manufacturing anymore. It was intangible content creation designed to sell the physical goods.
Okay, but why did we as consumers accept this? Why did we embrace this shift to the E factor? The source have an answer for that too, right? It's the Hedonic Trap.
Yes, the Hedonic Trap. This describes a fundamental change in how we started allocating our own resources, our money, our time. The data was showing consumers were consciously saving less
Always a worry.
and spending more and more of their disposable income on what? Entertainment and recreation. Pages 31 and 33 detail this shift.
So less saving, more fun spending.
Exactly. This is Hedonomics, the rise of the fun-focused consumer. Page 30 again. And it's not just a passing trend. The source argues it's a whole new cultural philosophy, the purchase of feel-goods.
Feel-goods.
Yeah, experiences, memories, emotional satisfaction that started outpacing the purchase of durable physical goods like appliances or even cars sometimes. Page 32 highlights this. The emotional payoff became more important than the tangible utility.
And the Moguls saw this.
Oh, they absolutely saw it. They realized that to really grow, exponentially grow, they had to sell happiness, sell escape, sell status, not just hardware.
And this connects directly to maybe the most subtle mechanism of control they identify, what you called the time weapon.
The time weapon, yes. Because modern life, the sources confirm this on page 37, it creates all these new emotional needs, loneliness, anxiety.
And a ton of stress. Page 37 mentions stress specifically.
A tremendous amount of stress. And what does entertainment offer? Escape. It helps us cope with the relentless pressures of the daily grind. Page 35 talks about this escape valve function.
Okay, that makes sense. We need to unwind.
But here's the insidious catch. The source points out we are now so desperate for relief, so desperate for some control over our overloaded schedules, that we are willing to sacrifice money just to gain a little bit of free time.
Right. Paying for convenience, outsourcing chores.
Exactly. But then, the moment we claw back that precious free time, what happens? It's immediately sold back to us as highly monetized, carefully scheduled, commercial leisure time. That phrase is on page 35.
Commercial leisure time. So we pay to get free time, then we pay again to fill that free time with prepackaged fun.
Precisely. We're paying a premium for these engineered experiences. Experiences specifically designed and marketed to guarantee stress relief, guarantee high-quality fun in the minimum amount of time possible.
So we're not just buying a movie ticket anymore. We're buying, 90 minutes of guaranteed high-quality escape, pre-vetted, marketed, risk-free fun.
Risk-free is key. Because time is so scarce, a bad experience feels like a major loss. So we pay the Mogul, essentially, to manufacture our escape hatch, to ensure the fun delivers.
That's unsettlingly accurate, actually.
Now let's shift a bit. Look at how the system captures our attention, not just through the content itself, but by shaping the actual physical environment around us. Think about the rise of Shoppertainment, page 67.
Shoppertainment, like malls.
Exactly. Remember, traditional malls. Just rows of stores, maybe a food court, functional. But they started dying off, right? Once consumers had online options, other things to do.
Yeah, a lot of ghost malls out there.
But the megaplex, the entertainment-infused mall, that saved them. The goal shifted completely. It wasn't about maximizing shopping utility anymore. It was about maximizing lingering time.
Keep people there longer.
Exactly. Look at the example they give. Ontario Mills. Huge place, not just 214 stores. It was packaged as this massive complex with an indoor zoo and 2 ice rinks. Page 9 details this.
An indoor zoo in a mall.
In a mall. And the numbers are just astonishing. The average visitor to Ontario Mills lingered for 3.5 hours. Compare that to just 1 hour at a conventional boring mall.
3.5 times longer. Wow.
And the psychological manipulation here is totally overt. It's documented right in our sources. The explicit goal, the stated reason for putting in that zoo, those ice rinks, it was to put people into a fun-seeking state of mind.
Get them relaxed, happy.
Exactly. And once they're relaxed, entertained, seeking pleasure, guess what? They behave in a more shopperly way. That's a direct quote from page 9.
A more shopperly way, so entertain them to loosen their wallets.
It's an engineered retail environment designed specifically to bypass your rational decision-making by overwhelming it with engineered pleasure. Make you feel good so you spend more.
And this entertainment anchor, it became crucial for even bigger projects, right? Like urban planning.
Absolutely. The source details how major urban revitalization efforts, like the big $65 million redevelopment in Harlem back then, absolutely relied on getting the Magic Johnson Theater Complex, MJT, as the essential catalyst. That's on page 12.
So without the cinema complex, the whole project might have failed.
The implication is clear. If you don't anchor your development project with that guaranteed fun factor, that entertainment draw, the investment, the other businesses, they just don't materialize. The E factor became a prerequisite for urban renewal.
Okay, speaking of engineered environments, you promised us that ultimate anecdote, the Wall Street chaos moment.
Ah, yes. The perfect, if slightly terrifying, symbol of the E factor invading cold, hard reality. Let's talk about Wall Street in the 90s.
Hmm.
High-speed trading is taking off. Financial news networks are becoming dominant.
CNBC, Bloomberg, constant information flow.
Exactly. But the boundary between critical financial analysis and pure, unadulterated spectacle just dissolved.
And the moment that proved it?
The moment came when CNBC, the network countless investors relied on for real-time, second-by-second market data, decided to air a special report. On what? Cybersex, page 49.
Cybersex, during market hours.
During active trading hours. And here's the absolutely unbelievable part. While CNBC was running this salacious story, they stopped running the usual stream of stock prices, the ticker tape, the financial headlines.
They replaced the data with the story.
Yes. And this relatively small disruption, just taking the data feed away for a short period, caused such utter panic and confusion on the actual trading floors
I can imagine.
that major Wall Street investment houses apparently had to halt business operations. They stopped trading until CNBC returned to its normal ticker feed. Page 49 confirms this halt.
That is absolutely insane. One story about Cybersex freezes the financial markets.
It perfectly illustrates the E-factor's power, doesn't it? The market's stability, its operational function, had become completely dependent on this continuous stream of media information. The second that stream chose spectacle Cybersex over utility stock prices, the entire system just seized up.
It proved that even the supposedly most rational system we have, the global financial market, had become a hostage to the entertainment cycle.
Wow. Compelling evidence for consumer and market control, absolutely. But let's pivot now to what might be the ultimate mechanism of dominance, politics. Because the sources provide stunning, really detailed evidence of political figures acting explicitly as media commodities, optimized purely for television.
The 1990s seemed like ground zero for this, didn't they? The source points to things like the O.J. Simpson trial, the whole Clinton-Lewinsky scandal.
Exactly. And how are they presented? Not as civic crises, not as legal matters primarily, but as, and this is a quote from page 19, torrid tales of sex, violence, and betrayal.
Pure soap opera.
The political process became almost indistinguishable from daytime TV drama. It was all about characters, narrative arcs, emotional highs and lows.
And when Bill Clinton finally made that painful, humiliating public admission about the Lewinsky affair.
The pundits, the commentators,
Yeah.
what did they focus on? Not the legal implications, not the constitutional questions, no. They treated his televised speech, according to page 20, like a speech in a made-for-TV movie.
Like a performance review.
Exactly. They debated whether his expression of contrition was authentic enough. They wondered aloud if he'd shown the kind of true remorse you might look for in an actor auditioning for a role in a hospital drama like Chicago Hope. That's the comparison used on page 20.
So political competency, actual policy, that became secondary to televisual charisma, to hitting your marks.
It absolutely suggests that. The source even argues, pretty bluntly on page 20, that without television, there would likely have been no Reagan presidency. His smooth, comforting, grandfatherly style, that 1950s sitcom dad vibe, it just translated perfectly through the camera lens.
The medium wasn't just carrying the message.
The medium became the message, to borrow McLuhan's phrase. TV demanded a certain kind of performance, and Reagan delivered it flawlessly.
And Clinton, the source argues, mastered the counter-style, right? The next generation of TV persona.
Yes, perfectly. He was incredibly adept at personifying the cultural values of a new era's television heroes. Think Hawkeye from MA, the example used on page 21. Clinton showed vulnerability, emotion. He even shed a strategic tear occasionally.
Making him seem more in touch.
Exactly. More relatable to the electorate through that televised performance of emotion. He packaged himself, according to page 21, as this lovable, maybe slightly flawed, but ultimately harmless, roosterish personality. Perfectly in tune with the whole pop culture retro vibe happening then.
Okay, but hang on. A skeptic like me might argue, hasn't political communication always relied on spectacle to some degree? Think Roman triumphs, political rallies. Where does the source draw the line? What makes this E-factor influence different from just, standard campaigning?
That's a fair question. The source seems to draw the line in the sheer suddenness and the totality of the political power shifts that happen specifically when modern, pervasive entertainment media is introduced into a system. Let's look at the truth meter segment, media's global political power, and focus on the example of India.
Okay, India. What happened there?
Well, before 1992, the Indian political message was almost entirely controlled by the state-run television network, Doordarshan. One channel, one message, basically. And the Congress Party had maintained a 50-year stranglehold on power. 50 years.
Wow, okay.
Then, almost overnight, in 1992, cable television was concurrently wired across the entire nation. Page 22 details this sudden arrival.
Suddenly multiple channels.
Competition.
Yeah.
Huge competition. And the zone was flooded by the global media moguls. Rupert Murdoch's Star TV, Sumner Redstone's MTV, Ted Turner's CNN. They all rushed in. And a rival political party, the BJP, they seized this new multi-channel environment.
How?
Crucially, according to page 22, they appropriated the massive wave of national feeling, the cultural resonance, generated by a hugely popular serialized retelling of the great Indian epic, the Ramayana, which had become a phenomenon on television. They essentially rode that wave of shared cultural entertainment to deliver their political message.
They tapped into the popular narrative.
And the media gatekeepers,
Yeah.
the moguls running these new cable channels, recognizing the power they now held, they apparently only allowed TV-friendly candidates to get significant airtime. That's also on page 22. Candidates who looked good, sounded good, fit the medium.
So the chilling implication, confirmed by the source on page 22. Without the means and methods of modern entertainment media suddenly flooding the country, that massive 50-year political dynasty shift, it likely wouldn't have been possible.
That's the argument. It moves way beyond simple campaign spectacle. It demonstrates that the entire political narrative became structurally dependent on and therefore controlled by those who owned the entertainment platforms and knew how to exploit the E-factor for political gain.
They became the new gatekeepers of democracy itself.
In a very real sense, yes.
And these elite owners, these moguls, they leverage this control partly because of their personalities, right? The source paints them as not just typical CEOs, they're autonomous risk takers.
Absolutely. Take Ted Turner. Page 122 describes him as this highly determined figure willing to risk absolutely everything on his vision.
What kind of risks?
Well, the source details his massive, almost reckless-seeming bets, like the simultaneous purchase of the entire MGM film library and the Hanna-Barbera cartoon library, a colossal financial gamble that his own board, according to page 123, seriously doubted. They thought he was crazy.
Buying up all those old movies and cartoons?
But what did he do? He used these immense archives of existing content to create entirely new themed entertainment platforms, TNT Turner Network Television, showing the movies, and the Cartoon Network, built entirely on those Hanna-Barbera archives.
And Cartoon Network became huge.
Huge. It ended up earning higher ratings, page 123 notes, than even his flagship news network, CNN, built on old cartoons.
That perfectly defines that mogul combat management style you mentioned from page 125. Unshakable self-belief, unquestioned personal authority within their domain, and this willingness to just defy common wisdom, defy the cautious financial advisors.
Because they believe, truly believe, their gut instinct for entertainment for what the audience wants will ultimately prevail. Their primary currency isn't just money, it's courage and content. That's the mogul mindset.
Okay, let's bring this home. Connect this mogul strategy, this E-factor blueprint outlined back in 1999 to the structure of our lives now. Our modern digital cage, as you called it.
Right. Because the E-factor thrives. It absolutely flourishes in an environment defined by the fragmentation of time. That's a key concept from page 38.
Fragmentation of time, meaning?
Meaning we don't consume leisure or fun in long, leisurely blocks anymore. We consume it in smaller, more intense fractured parcels. The source, even back then, mentioned the modern consumer, even kids, having to carve out tiny slivers of time. 10 minutes to surf the net before school, maybe 2 hours between homework and soccer practice. Page 39 gives these examples.
We're constantly multitasking, juggling things.
Constantly. Which the source links directly to serious professional sabotage, even then. They cited the data showing up to 27% of company web traffic was purely recreational. People sneaking online for fun during work hours. Page 44 talks about this.
The cigarette break got replaced by the net cruise.
Exactly. Page 44 uses that exact phrase. And the system mandates that because we have less continuous leisure time, we have to compress the fun. We need it to be more intense, higher quality, delivering maximum impact in minimum time. Page 45 explores this craving for concentration.
And the moguls understood the psychological cost of this fragmentation, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. Since we're forced to schedule our free time, literally pencil it in the schedule, as the source quotes a child saying on page 45, the simple act of planning raises the stakes for every leisure decision.
Meaning?
Meaning a bad movie isn't just a waste of $10 anymore. It feels like a major opportunity cost. You wasted one of your precious scheduled slots for guaranteed fun. Page 45 nails this anxiety.
So we become risk-averse about our fun.
Exactly. And they realize that in this new entertainment economy, consumers are willing to pay a substantial premium for guaranteed, high-quality, pre-vetted experiences. Think subscriptions to curated services, premium content access, concierge services that minimize hassle and maximize enjoyment. Anything that lowers the risk of wasting that precious scheduled leisure time.
We pay extra for the guarantee.
We pay for certainty in our fun. Now think about the most insidious application of this, which the text predicted flawlessly. The complete E-factor integration into the financial sector.
Banking again, which traditionally, page 75 notes, was seen as deliberately devoid of snap and sizzle.
Right. Boring on purpose almost, but now fully governed by the E-factor. Look at Citibank's campaign again. Who says a bank can't rock and roll? Page 75. That wasn't just clever marketing copy.
It was a mission statement.
It was an acknowledgement of the new mandate, their co-branded credit card with Sony. It wasn't subtle. Page 76 says it was explicitly called the official currency of playtime.
The official currency of playtime for a credit card.
The goal is crystal clear. Make managing your complex, often stressful finances feel like a recreational activity. Make it feel fun, effortless, engaging. Gamify banking. Page 76 spells this out.
And this cultural shift, making finance feel like entertainment, directly led to the explosion of cyber trading, right? Online stock trading for the masses.
Exactly. The sources frame the rise of digital retail investing explicitly as an entertainment product. It's described on page 77 as being part video game and part spreadsheet analysis.
The thrill of the game meets the seriousness of money.
The Moguls knew precisely what they were doing. By giving small, individual retail investors access to real-time data and instant trading information, once reserved only for Wall Street insiders, they were creating this incredibly potent psychological cocktail. The thrill of gambling, combined with the joy of immediate power and control. Page 78 highlights this potent mix.
The source even elevates this, doesn't it? Draws a parallel to, like, the invention of the printing press.
It does. On page 78, it compares the democratization of financial information to the intellectual revolution sparked when printing made books available to everyone. But here, the revolution is happening on the trading floor, turning the pursuit of wealth itself into this immersive, high-stakes, accessible game for the masses.
But turning the market into a game?
Yeah.
There has to be a downside, a big one.
Oh, a massive downside. The source confirms the chilling consequence of fully embracing these entertainment dynamics in finance. The entire market structure becomes inherently unpredictable and volatile. Page 79 is stark about this.
How so?
Stocks start rising and falling like hit movies, based purely on buzz, on media attention, on the immediate narrative, not necessarily on underlying financial fundamentals. Page 79 uses that exact hit movie analogy.
So hype drives the price more than value.
Increasingly, yes. And this kind of controlled chaos, this volatility driven by attention cycles, who does it ultimately reward? Only those at the very apex. The moguls who have the capital, the information flow, the nerve to reverse course instantly and ride the wave of hype, or even create the hype. Page 125 touches on their ability to pivot.
Even the ultimate utility guy, Bill Gates, had to bow to the E-factor eventually, didn't he?
He absolutely did. Gates, the absolute epitome of the button-down rational software is utility tech leader. Even he had to become a stealth mogul, as page 127 calls him, just to survive and thrive.
How so? What did he do?
He famously executed what the source calls a fast 90-degree turn to embrace the World Wide Web. This was a multi-billion-dollar strategic risk, a huge pivot for Microsoft, detailed on page 127. Why? Because he realized the computer industry wasn't just selling productivity tools anymore. It had irrevocably entered a world driven by competition for eyeballs, just like the entertainment world. Page 127 uses that specific term, eyeballs.
So Microsoft had to become entertaining?
Microsoft had to inject excitement, continuous engagement, reasons for users to want to spend time in their ecosystem, the core tenets of the E-factor, into its software and online offerings, simply to win the battle for user attention. Page 127 makes this clear.
When the most powerful, arguably most rational, utility-focused company on Earth has to submit to the pleasure principle, you know the system is truly, deeply pervasive.
Game over. The E-factor won.
Okay. We've spent this deep dive really unpacking the blueprint, the source code for the entertainment economy, detailing the psychological traps, the structural controls exerted by this E-factor. Let's try to list those bombshell truths quickly, grounding them back in the analysis we just walked through.
All right, bombshell 1. The line, the boundary between entertainment and core consumer businesses, banking, cars, toys, even heavy industries. It hasn't just blurred, it has definitively disappeared. Every single interaction, even analyzing your finances, is now driven by the E-factor, optimized for engagement and experience. We saw that across pages 21 and 22.
Bombshell 2. Politics. Political careers, global elections. They're fundamentally modeled after television archetypes now. Success requires media saturation and performance. A political party's ability to break a decades-long hold on power, like in India, can be directly traced to successfully hijacking the entertainment platform. Pages 20 through 22 really hammered this home.
Bombshell 3. The architects. Mega media empires aren't built by committee. They're built by these autonomous, gambling moguls operating under the ruthless creed of Mogul combat. They defy common wisdom. They leverage unquestioned personal authority, and they take immense, content-driven risks that traditional managers would never touch. Pages 125 and 122, 123 painted that picture vividly.
Bombshell 4. Your time. Our fragmented free time is now subject to the time weapon. It's become a scarce commodity we have to actively schedule. And because it's scarce, we're willing to pay a significant premium for concentrated, high-quality doses of commercial fun, anything that guarantees escape in those precious manufactured slots. Pages 35 and 45 laid out that dynamic.
And Bombshell 5. The value proposition itself has completely flipped. The perceived value of physical, tangible goods is declining relative to intangible feel goods. True economic growth, the source argues, is increasingly focused on products, services, and experiences that make consumers feel sexier, more informed, less stressed, effectively monetizing our emotional states. Pages 32 and 33 showed that shift clearly.
So the evidence shows this control is pervasive. It's deeply embedded, built entirely on a foundation of manufactured emotional needs and weaponized attention scarcity. I mean, we live in a world where global commerce literally stops for cybersex. It's baked in.
It seems overwhelming, almost total. But here is the critical, maybe the only, vulnerability in the entire system they've created. And it's revealed right there towards the end of the analysis on page 294.
What is it?
The creative element. Raw creativity itself is the great wild card. After all the data analysis, all the spreadsheets, the algorithms, the psychological targeting, there is simply no foolproof formula, no spreadsheet that can fully predict whether you, the public, will genuinely prefer one song over another, one movie over another, one car design over another.
Human taste is unpredictable.
Exactly. Human wants, human desires, they are fundamentally not rational. Page 295 emphasizes this irrationality.
So that irrationality, that unpredictable creative spark, that's the one thing the moguls, the E-factor architects, they can't fully quantify, can't successfully predict or control.
It's the ghost in their machine.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, the only genuine way to combat a system built entirely on manufactured desire and quantified attention is to reclaim and embrace your own irrational, unpredictable creativity, to choose differently than the algorithm predicts. So we leave you with this final provocative thought tonight. If your attention is truly their ultimate commodity, if your predictable desires fuel their entire economy, how are you using your own precious leisure time, your own creative impulses, to truly defy the spreadsheets, to break their conditioning?
Something to think about. Definitely subscribe to the official urban.substack.com for the full detailed dive into the source text, all the page references, and the notes we covered today. Keep the conversation going on X. Use the hashtag #UrbanOdysseyTruth. We want to know, what's your take on the E-factor? Reply to us at official Urbanus.
We'll see you next time.
For the next deep dive.